So we just talk.
Let's, let's talk The Stand. 2 weeks, is it?
Something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Are you guys even ready? I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know. I think so many people are so excited to see it. And I think the more I talk to folks about it, the more I realize how, I mean, I've always loved the book. I've been a huge Stephen King fan my whole life, but so many people love this story and love this book. And I feel like we all had such passion for it. People are going to love it.
yeah. Yeah. No, I grew up, I mean, with Stephen King, and not with him, but reading him. And and The Stand was one of my favorite books as a teenager. So I mean, I've seen little bits and pieces, but I'm really excited to see the whole,
Yeah.
all come together.
It's like that excitement with fear too. It's like something you've loved for so long, and
Yeah.
then you're actually a part of it, like a key part of it, with the character that you come to love. And then what if people, I don't know, it's just so strange showing it to your best friends and family, and
Oh, I
just
know.
loving it so much. It's weird.
It's always surreal.
Yeah.
It is. And I think the exciting part too are the characters. I think each one of us, we play very, very different characters, but all the characters in this are so rich, and we really got to sink our teeth into something, and it makes it so gratifying that we got to play and have fun and really take a big swing.
Yeah. I am really excited about what, how people react, especially, I mean, personally for me with Harold, just because he's so kind of extreme. And you said characters we love, Henry. I do love Harold, but I also kind of, he's a very dark part. So I'm nervous.
It's so interesting you say that, because when I was talking to Brad a few days ago about our characters and how everyone just brought their A game to this show, it's like they asked me to pick another character to play, and I was talking to Owen on set, and Nick Andros and Harold Lauder are probably like the most mirrored characters, because one had the option of going both directions, and so did the other one, but then we picked different paths. We probably got not the same amount, but a fair amount of obstacles to deal with.
Very, very different lives, but similar sorts of choices to make.
Similar grievances, and
dude, I know what you mean.
I watched the pilot. Sorry.
What?
I know what you mean about that little bit of fear, though, because like you were saying, it's a very dark character, and Julie's very much the same way. I know our first day on set, Henry, there's a lot of things about Julie that are not to be liked. A lot of things that are she's not really the example of who to be in the apocalypse. So it's hoping that folks separate you from your character. But I know how much work you put in, Henry, and Owen. I feel like I've known you forever. So I'm so proud of both of you, and like excited for people to see what you both have.
By the way,
me too, for you.
Yeah, you brought so much humanity to Julie. Like, you actually broke that day. Like, we were laughing our butts off, but also I believed you as this heartbroken person who just built this massive shield, and it was just really awesome to watch, because you could go with a very surface direction with that character, and it's just like, it takes brilliance to bring heart into a character like her, and it was awesome.
No, you really, you brought a lot to her. I watched episode 3, is it? 3 or 4? Yeah. And like, it's really fun to watch you guys have that scene and interaction, and Kat, it's just like, you have this crazy fun exterior of Julie, but then also you fill it with, this loneliness that's really cool.
It's funny because I think a lot of people can relate to that, and each of these characters deals with this sort of apocalyptic circumstance in a different way, where they either build a shield, or they reach out to people, or they go to a dark place, or depending on what it is they do, audiences can relate to different qualities in each of them. And they're, that's what's great about Stephen King's characters, is they're so human, and they're so absurd, but also relatable in a very terrifying way.
Yeah, it raises so many questions. Like if you were, dealt that hand of pandemic, your family's not around and there's no money, money is not worth anything anymore. Like, who would you be? And it's that play of like, no one's that good or that bad. There's so many shades of gray in between that, we kind of all fall under. It's pretty cheap.
Well, and now, especially with COVID, I mean, I just kind of realized how the three of us, at least, and I'm not sure about the rest of the characters, but at least the three of us, we're all kind of like loners. And Henry, you were saying this about how Harold and Nick are kind of, opposite sides of the spectrum, but all three of us are definitely dealing with the isolation of this new world. And I think that's something that people are going through right now, with, quarantines and all that stuff. So, yeah.
How timely.
Yeah.
When we're all cooped up, we watch a show about people that are lonely in this pandemic sort of era. Not sort of, very
literally.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it hits so close to home, and yet I think it'll be, cathartic in some ways, given the extravagance of Vegas and Randall Flagg and all that, but also hopefully with the bolder side, inspire some hope in people and allow folks to remember that there is kindness and humanity out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
We're finding it.
Like we're slowly finding it. I see a tide shift in a way. I don't know. Post-election kind of vibes. I don't know. Sorry, I don't want to bring politics into this. Anyway, who are your favorite actors to work with aside,
present company excluded?
Well,
not excluded, because
we didn't really, at least I didn't get to work with you guys really that much. I didn't get to work at all with you, Kat, but Henry, I think you and I were like in the same room at one point.
We were in the same auditorium and then in the same
yes.
And that was about it. You never signed back to me.
I know. I never even spoke to you.
Yeah.
So weird.
I always wondered what Harold and Julie, what their interaction would be.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It just seemed fraught with, there would have been something happening, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what though. It's like, I would love to see that, like little, just a preview of that spinoff, because I feel like it'd be insane.
They have a very specific kind of insanity to them, and I think putting them together, they either take over the world or kill each other. And I'm not sure.
It could be either one, or both. Yeah.
Take over the world, then kill each other, and then Andros takes over.
Yeah.
I could see like a Nadine lost twin that, holds a shotgun around and just scares people out. I could see that.
But I do have to say, Henry, thank you so much for that, because that first day, the day we worked together, was my first day on set. And I literally had to come in guns a-blazing. And I was so nervous to dive in because you guys had already been shooting and had such a rhythm, and was hoping to kind of find this world. And you were so down to play, you and Brad, and we just had the best time figuring out that math scene.
I have to thank you. I mean, I loved working with you since the moment I met you and Brad. I honestly didn't have a hard time with anyone. Like I said, like everyone brought their A game and we were all there for the same reason. I had a blast with you that day. It was probably one of the most fun days on set, shooting stuff up in the furniture store. And
that looked like a fun scene.
Fruit Loops and shotgun. What more can you want?
Yeah.
Kisses and shotgun. French kisses and shotgun. Why not?
And there you go.
But yeah, we had like the best cast ever. Everyone was so wonderful.
They really were.
It really was amazing, especially when you're working with, legendary folks who are bringing their A game and who are so open to sort of playing and experimenting and giving you that opening to play with them. Mm-hmm. It's just so gratifying, and it makes you feel like part of the team.
Right.
Yeah. for me, it went to both, into both directions, because also, as much as, everyone was so kind and so generous, but when you saw, when you found a bump on the road, and when you're the new actor, the young actor just starting out, it's easy to get diluted in some of the other scenes. So it's like this project kind of taught me, especially because I was playing someone deaf and being hearing in some of the scenes in the show, and also being hearing in real life. I had to stand up for a community that I'm not necessarily a part of. I was, friends opened this community for me. So I had to be their voice there. So sometimes I was like, I can't be the yes man. I have to kind of, it was a very cool learning experience too for me. And also, yes, I loved working with everyone.
Yeah.
How about you?
I was gonna say I wanted to ask you sort of what your experience was like working with different folks, because I know I didn't get to work with Whoopi, but getting to work with Alex, he's not only just the nicest, most lovely, open, funny, goofy human being, but he's actually terrifying and really turns on a dime in that way. And it's always fascinating to me to get to work with someone who can commit that much, but also keep the environment on set so lovely and wonderful and jovial.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was so fun to work with. I worked with him for 2 days doing all the dream sequences and, the Devil's Offer. It was awesome. He's such a badass, so generous, so nice. I was kind of terrified walking up to set. Like, this guy's like 6'4". Been working for so long.
Really tall.
Yeah, he was wonderful. So was Whoopi,
Yeah. I wish I'd gotten to work with either of them. But Harold is in a bubble. So most of my stuff was with Odessa, and she was the best. Just awesome. Yeah.
Right.
It would kind of freak me out every time I'd see you, because it was so Harold louder. I was like, oh my God, it's like you're jumping off the book into
Wait, what?
You every time I saw you behind the camera,
Yeah.
And I just saw you'd be Harold
and all that stuff.
Holy moly. It was pretty great.
Thanks.
I was just so proud of you, because I know, gosh, how old were you when we met?
I was like 13.
I think so, because I was 17, like 16 or 17, so it had to be.
Yeah.
But
That's
and
so
then
much
to just watch all
guys.
the great.
How did you meet? Sorry.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we did a movie together, a little indie film in upstate New York years ago.
It was my first movie ever.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, because I remember thinking how much you killed it then, and just watching all the incredible things you've done since. And this is just, the next great step. And I'm so proud.
No, I'm thank you. I'm proud of you. Yeah, that was the first thing. That was my first job. I mean, on a movie.
That's amazing.
I looked like I was like 7.
And
it's okay. I looked like I was about 15. So.
What?
What'd you say?
No, I cut you off. Sorry.
Zoom is so weird.
Thing is, yeah. And it mutes people too. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kat. You go ahead.
I was babbling, so please, by all means, go for it.
Okay. What should I ask you guys? Are we interviewing each other? That's kind of how
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a group chat, you guys. I'm going to jump in. It's basically, you've been doing wonderfully. I did want to ask you all, what did you find? I mean, you mentioned playing a deaf character and how that, impacted you, but what were the hardest pieces for you other two to nail? And how did you also kind of get into your characters? Was there a physicality or something you do, a tradition or something that you do to kind of get yourself into a particular mindset?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Britney Spears. For Julie, I feel like that's very much her mindset. No, but I remember walking into the first costume fitting, because there's so many different ways you can go with Julie and so many different things to kind of suss out about her. And I walked into the first costume fitting, and it was just a room full of prom dresses and fur and sequins, but also combat boots and diamonds and glitter. And I just suddenly went, oh, I get it now. This is sort of the icing on the cake of this really interesting, weird human. And it kind of created her armor and her shield in a way. And it kind of informed all the little pieces, all the connective tissue for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember one of the earliest things that I did was work with Angelina on Harold's costume, just like the kinds of shirts that he wore and the kinds of shoes and pants and the sizes of everything and the hairstyle. And costumes are a really big part of the preparation for me as well. But also, like, I'd been a fan of the book forever, and so like just trying to take what King wrote and expand on that was sort of my most of my kind of process for Harold. Was just like, you know, he writes this manifesto throughout the story, and so working on that, and then, you know, just like kind of figuring out how he thought, like what his thought processes about the world were, and like identifying his problems with society and what he would change kind of became the philosophical part of Harold became an interesting thing, especially later on as we continued filming, as he, like, you know, goes further and further down that path of Flag. It's like, what exactly does, you know, is in store for Harold, and where does he see himself in the world versus where he is? So it was like, yeah, a lot of weird kind of freaky 40s German philosophy.
Did you keep a diary for him?
Mm-hmm.
Did you keep a diary where you'd write like his thoughts? Like, how would you?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I talked to you about this actually, Henry, because we were never on set together.
Convo in the car once, and we were like,
yeah, I ended up writing the manifesto for him.
Yeah.
I think gets a little bit of screen time, not very much, which is probably good given what's in it. But
the I'm on a Great Adventure one.
Yeah, all his kind of like monologues come from that piece of writing that he starts it like day 2 of the pandemic, and he finishes it just, you know, before the ending of his storyline. And so that's kind of what I did. I would like go home and, you know, to my apartment after work and on my days off, and I'd work on that on a typewriter.
How about that, dude? On a typewriter. Yeah,
it was weird, but that helped me a lot.
But that's, I remember that conversation because, again, it goes back to like that kind of mirroring thing of our characters. There are so many similarities. It's just like one goes towards evil and one gravitates towards, you know, good. But
right.
Some days I just wouldn't understand how a character like Nick would just never lose his ability to forgive. And
right.
Start. It's like, how are you not angry? How are you okay with this? And it's not that he was okay. And I had to create like this inner conversation because, you know, he lives in a hostile world of mostly hearing people that don't have patience to even understand the signs or read his little notebook. So I kept a diary, just talking to myself and forgiving people that, you know, Henry knew personally, and like I'll mix in people that Nick met throughout the story. And I was like, wow, this is weirdly therapeutic. And I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously the ASL was like a big part of my prep.
Yeah, you had to do all that.
And yeah,
so
that was amazing. Because, I mean, watching you on screen, at least, I mean, I don't speak ASL, so I guess I wouldn't really know, but, you know, you look fluent. It's really kind of amazing how you did that.
I feel like I can have a conversation now that's like not just me asking for how to sign a word by finger spelling everything.
Right.
So I finally feel like my coach can feel comfortable in the conversation. I'm like, okay, we struggled through a year together, and now I can actually sit in front of you.
Did you keep it up?
Oh yeah, I'm still taking it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm like,
That's
why
great.
not? It's a beautiful language and so expressive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to learn sides for new projects and just like signing it so I can remember it better. I'm like, this is weird, but I love it. Like,
Wow.
That must be a great like memorization technique as well.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, it's such a beautiful language. I was lucky to, massively bump into it in such an early stage of my life.
Right.
But
Wow.
yeah.
That's
What
so cool.
I wanted to jump in and just ask the three of you, and you kind of touched on this earlier, but I wanted to circle back around to the whole idea of you're filming a movie about a pandemic, you wrap, correct me if I'm wrong, and then a pandemic hits the world. How would you approach your characters or maybe this project in a different way, or would you in a different way, knowing what you know now after actually living something that you were acting in at the beginning?
I don't think so. Because, I mean, at least for Nick, you meet him in the script after as the pandemic is hitting. So it's kind of like new world chapter. And it's obviously it's like fictional and it's such an extreme pandemic and the stand that we haven't lived through, thankfully, in reality. So I don't know what elements I would bring. I don't know. What about you guys?
No, yeah, it's very different. So I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
I wouldn't, yeah, I agree. I don't think, I mean, I don't know if Julie's very specific when it comes to her kind of particular outlook on the world, which is thankfully very different than mine. But I will say I understand her kind of loneliness and the sort of mania that results, and sort of, she becomes very erratic, and that erratic nature carries through and causes, she's very chaotic, and that chaos I think is just her keeping down that panic of the unknown and of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring, and of not having any sense of security in her world and in her relationships, especially going into the world of Randall Flagg, where there are no solid alliances or allegiances, and you don't know if you're, going to be the one to get killed the next day. So I guess I can understand that sense of insecurity a bit more, but I don't think it would change anything that I've done.
And
Yeah.
with the material being so intense and so dark to a certain extent, what did you guys do to shake it off at the end of the day? Were there any rituals or things that you would try and do to kind of get yourself back to you as opposed to your character?
I know for me, I feel like I'm there's so many good television shows and movies and things out there in the last several years, and I'm so behind because when I'm working on projects like The Stand, instead of going home and watching, True Detective season 4 or the Oscar films, I go home and I watch Schitt's Creek and The Good Place and, reality TV to try and laugh a little and alleviate some of that, those high stakes that we live in all day.
I did watch The Good Place while I was up in Vancouver. That was a helpful one for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot because I didn't really want to mess with a lot of noise or sound stuff. I wanted to try and stay in the silence, more like silence-driven cocoon, but also break away from Nick for a minute. That also is something that gave me peace and stuff. So I asked my sister, who's an avid reader, like, send me your favorite books that are uplifting in some way. And then she's like, you know what? You should read this graphic novel about Nazi Poland. I'm like, oh my God, okay. I said uplifting, and she's like, no, it won a Pulitzer. It's the first comic book to ever win a Pulitzer. I'm like, okay, great. So yeah, I guess you can call it break.
That's definitely an interesting choice of a break.
What graphic novel is that?
Huh?
What's that? What's it called?
Mouse, Maus. It's pretty amazing. It's so beautiful. It's about a father and a son's relationship, and the father is a survivor from Nazi Poland, and he has all these pet peeves, and he's a difficult person to just have a conversation with or just be the son of, I guess. They didn't have the best relationship, but then the son it's autobiographical, and then the son became writer, journalist, and wanted to write a book about his dad while also narrating their relationship and why it was the way it is. And it's all told through animal, like, you know, the Polish people are, I think, mice in the story. It's all graphic.
Wow.
And
That's so cool.
That sounds
I
great.
Well, listen, you guys, let me just wrap it up with by checking in with each of you to let me know, maybe Owen, you can kick us off with what's next on your slate of things. What's your next big project? What are you looking forward to doing in the future?
I'm looking forward to leaving my house. No, I just did a movie up in Montana about brother sister, which currently doesn't have a title, so that'll happen at some point maybe. But I think it's gonna be really good, and that was kind of amazing to be up there. It's beautiful. But yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, try to stay home and healthy. Yeah. What about you guys?
I have a lot of projects that are supposed to have shot already that are on hold, so hopefully those will go at sometime soon. But I did just see a cut of, I squeezed in a little indie film right after I finished The Stand before the pandemic that's based on a play called Push that should be out early next year, hopefully. So it's an interesting 4 characters and 3 really messed up relationships, kind of a modern study of fidelity and what that all means.
Wow.
Amazing. Well, I did this epic show with McNamara and Owen Teague. It's coming out in 2 weeks. Just kidding. I'm filming something in Brazil in February, but they haven't announced it, so I can't really talk about that project. But I mean, I've never worked here before, so I'm here now. Hang out with my family and kind of prep for it. So hopefully can talk about it more after they announce it. So yeah.
Cool.